Welcome to our special series of Let's Talk for KubeCon EU, and I'm your host, Swapnil Bhartia. My next guest is David Safaii, CEO of Trilio, and today's topic is Trilio's activities at KubeCon EU. We have hosted you so many times, but I want to refresh memories of our audience. Tell us, what is Trilio all about?
Trilio is a cloud-native data protection platform that provides end users, whether they are DevOps all the way to IT ops, with the ability to provide backup, disaster recovery, migration capabilities of an application, or provide test dev environments for your cloud-native applications. And so we give you the ability to think of us as a time machine of the application and its associated data, and giving you the flexibility to store that application wherever you want, NFS, S3, whatever cloud you so choose, and giving you the ability to do all those functions that I mentioned before with a single click.
Right. If you look at early days of Kubernetes, especially, I mean, you come all the way from OpenStack days, which is a totally different beast. But Kubernetes, initially, it was all stateless, but now it's all stateful applications. Second thing is that the adoption of Kubernetes is skyrocketing. We cannot, it's not just the adoption, the kind of use cases that we see of Kubernetes. What kind of new challenges it's creating, or what kind of new threats? Because we focus too much on the application, but we don't talk about data side of it. So can you talk about what you have seen with these growing use cases, with this growing adoption? What kind of challenges or problems companies are running into when it comes to data? And that's where Trilio comes in to help them.
The funny thing is, it feels a little like the movie Groundhog's Day for us. You and I have had, we've had a number of years where we've talked about Trilio as it relates to OpenStack. And back then we saw people initially jumping into these waters covering stateless, and then eventually Stateful really took hold. The same thing has transpired here. Stateful always finds its way in. And so the types of applications that we're seeing in the Kubernetes environment is everything ranging from pushing small applications to the edge, all the way through AI-based applications. And all these applications require the ability to not just perhaps recover in place, may it just be configuration settings, because drift may have occurred since the application has been published, but also the ability to recover these full applications, God forbid something happens at a site. So we're seeing a bit of a Groundhog's Day again. And the thing is, what's great is when we go into these environments, the company is tried, tested, and true. We've had, a long history of protecting large logos, and these people rely on us. So going into Kubernetes over the last year has been fantastic for us. We've given people kind of a peace of mind and with credibility that comes with it.
And when you said, stateful finds way, that reminds me of Jurassic Park, life finds its way. Yeah, so stateful is more lifelike. You mentioned a couple of things. I want to understand when we do look at, you don't know what kind of disaster will hit somebody's cluster. What patterns do you see there when it does come to these things? Is it more or less configuration issues? It is more or less like there may be a bug which can be exploited. We are also seeing rise of ransomware in cloud native applications. And then of course there's human error. So what are the things that you do see increase the risk factor?
Yeah, so it really depends upon who you're having that conversation with and what do they really care about, right? What we're finding that, in some cases, let's take it about DevOps. DevOps cares about taking a stateful environment and porting it to another cloud to test against, see what the performance, et cetera. Some people care about moving that stateful application from non-prod to prod. We get in some cases where, let's take the government as an example. They have so many different clouds that they need to work with, but they need to be mindful of that application and have the ability to recover that application to another cloud if something should happen, or maybe it's for cost reasons. Right? So it really depends upon who you're speaking with and what do they care about. As you have some industries adopt a multi-cloud strategy organically, or they may have to because of compliance reasons, like take the banking system as an example. You have to provide the ability to recover, right? And so, yes, anyone can back up, data. but can you reorchestrate a point in time of the application and its data together? That's, part of the beauty of what Trilio has provided is this orchestration and automation of that point in time.
Right. I want to talk about just one use case before we switch to KubeCon announcement, and that is this is relevant both for OpenStack and Kubernetes, which is edge use case. And we are not talking about edge as IoT devices. We are talking about edge data centers, because then you're talking about data center, unlike other resource constraint, access to bandwidth, plus you cannot send your team to maintain it. It is in a remote location. So the challenges are totally different than, legacy data centers. Is that also within the radar of Trilio? If yes, how are you tackling those challenges?
Yeah, no, so it's a good question, because we're encountering that in both our flagship side from OpenStack, where people are looking to push edge nodes as far as they possibly can. And then on the Kubernetes piece, right, to now publish and push an application and its data as far as you possibly can. In both those cases, there are small clusters, right? But also in both those cases, you're going to have, if something happens and you can't send someone to those sites, the ability to quickly reorchestrate or recreate those edge cases. And we're having those conversations. We're seeing that with a number of telcos, and it's in both conversations. And what's interesting is what we've seen over a course of time. While we led with one, and now we are leading with Kubernetes, we're finding people ask us for both. That we're seeing that lead really coming from predominantly IBM and Red Hat side of the house, where they're providing a full stack to some organizations. So the benefit for Trilio is we're the only native solution that can cover that entire offering.
Now let's just switch gear to KubeCon. What are you announcing at this event?
We're really excited about KubeCon. The team has been working so hard. I mean, we announced TVK, TrilioVault for Kubernetes last Q3, and the adoption has been phenomenal. We've got hundreds upon hundreds of downloads of the application. We have demand from customers. We're receiving a number of accolades from a lot of the industry analysts like GigaOM and Gartner and IDC. So all that's been well and good. And so with all this adoption comes a lot of requests, which is a good thing, right? So this release is our answer to a lot of customer requests. And with this release, a couple of things to highlight. One, going forward, we are actually going to give you the ability to see what your Valero environment may look like. So TVK is going to, you can download us and install us as you would normally, very easily with just a few clicks. And if you had started down the path of leveraging a free tool like Valero to provide backups, which is a nice start, but the thing is, it lacks completeness, it doesn't have scalability, and it doesn't have a user interface. So as we start to have more and more conversations out in the field, people are raising their hand and saying, we need to get a little more serious about an enterprise caliber backup solution. What can you help us with? So now we can consume Valero, we'll do the discovery, and we'll show you the health of those Valero-based backups. And so now you've got observability and monitoring of those backups. You'll be surprised that maybe a handful have failed and you didn't even realize that, because Valero is a CLI-driven environment. And then with Trilio is you have the ability to now graduate to that enterprise caliber backup solution. And so, a lot of organizations, when they've started down this cloud native journey, they may have started to develop an application based upon labels alone. One of the beauties and the strengths of TVK is that it's so flexible. We put years of thought before we released this product. Trilio is completely cloud agnostic, it's distribution agnostic, it's storage agnostic. And along with that, we were very mindful of how people were building applications. So if you started to build an application with labels, which Valero protects label-based applications, But over time, you may have different teams or an organization or company-wide decide we're building an application based upon Helm or leverage operators. Well, you need another platform to protect those environments. So Trilio can come in and blanket everything. It doesn't matter where you are on that cloud native journey. So that was one major announcement that we provided, which we're really excited about. Another one is around disaster recovery. And again, this is a response to customer demand. DR is coming up a lot. And so with all that flexibility that I had mentioned before, this new operation allows you to have guided workflows to easily select from a handful of different applications, right? And with one single button now, you can create a plan to fail back to and fully recover all those applications from a desired point in time to any cloud. So you can fail over from one cloud to another cloud. So you select what are those business critical applications that need to be protected, but now you can also test all those applications. Push a button, recover all those applications into a different cloud and start testing against the sandbox. So if you think about a minimum viable company or set of applications that I have to get back to, this is the easy button. So this is, again, we're really, really excited about this. And in both cases, whether it's DevOps, whether it's Valero or if it's this DR solution, in both cases, we're seeing the adoption of TrilioVault and the demand for our capabilities are not just from the DevOps folks, but now we're seeing a lot of IT ops conversations. And the IT ops will care more about workflows and care more about a user interface to manage all this sort of stuff. So this announcement was, we're really, really excited. And then lastly, we had a number of certifications that we went through. We are now certified across, of course, as you're well aware, we've been certified across many of the Red Hat Cloud Platform for quite some time in IBM Cloud Paks, but now we've also added Rancher as certified. We have MKE from Mirantis, AKS, EKS, GKE. And so, I talked about all that flexibility before, and we don't want our end users to worry. And so as we certify our solution, it's part of our CI/CD process internally. So if you're going to use TVK, it's going to work. So as part of the demand that we're seeing out in the market with all these certifications, there are some people, even the Tanzu, the people that are using and leveraging Tanzu. We are now, Trilio's adopted and added Tanzu to our certification process. So the list is quite long. And beyond those certifications, we're making sure that Trilio is easy to install. So we've been going through the process of making sure that we're in all the right marketplaces. So Trilio is now in Amazon's marketplace, will be in Google's, as well as Tanzu marketplace as well.
Since you mentioned TVK and that's a critical piece of Trilio, what kind of adoption, what kind of response you have seen from customers?
Since we announced the product, a lot of our historical customers have all come back to us because these are the people who have adopted open source technologies early on, right? Open infrastructure. And they were the ones who were driving a lot of them were large logos that were driving a cloud native digital transformation strategy, whether it was staying within that cloud or adopting additional clouds. And so that's been great. And so from that, as I mentioned before, we're seeing multi-product continue to be adopted. We're seeing more and more folks raise their hand and approach us either through partners or through the good work of our team. They're coming to the website, they're learning, right? The process now with adoption of technology now is a buyer's process. People learn, they want to be educated before they even come to you. And so we're finding a lot of folks that are doing the research and they're coming to us and they're raising their hand and saying, look, we started down this path. The platform has evolved. We're using new types of templating. We're building applications in a new sort of way. We're using additional clouds, right? And the way we thought of things before, we now have to think about it from an enterprise caliber perspective. And so those conversations have been fantastic. They really, really have been. So the team is quite busy.
David, thank you so much for taking time out today and talk about new updates at Trilio. And I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you.
Always good to see you. Take care, and hopefully we can do this in person soon.